Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. How's everyone doing? Day 2 of TDX. Great. So let's get started. My timer's already started, yeah. So welcome to TDX. I'm super excited to have you all here. Welcome to my session. My name is Sri Srinivasan. I am a Senior Director of Information Security here at Salesforce, and I'm super excited, to say the least, to be in front of you. Before we get started, some housekeeping. Number one, Salesforce is a publicly traded company. We will be talking about stuff that is in the roadmap. They're not in the product today. So please make all your purchasing decisions based on what's in the product. Number two, feedback is a gift. Please do give me the feedback so that we can come back here next year and provide better content to you year over year. Lastly, thank you. I know you all have a choice, and you made a choice to be here, so I greatly appreciate it, and hopefully we'll make it worthwhile for you folks. So our today's agenda is pretty light, but it's really packed. We're going to be talking about the attributes of Agentforce and the security pillars around it. We're going to take some time to understand private actions and how to secure them. And finally, we'll just have a quick dig into the reference implementation. Without wasting much time, I'll jump right into it. Quick show of hands. How many of you have already seen this, this slide? Pretty much everybody. So I'm not going to waste my time talking about this, but I thought, how about I take this slide and flip it on its head and put some security context around it. So using my little magic, I did this. So we're going to be talking about each of our attributes and the security concepts that you should be thinking about in each of these places. Role. As you all know, role, again, there will be QR codes, so please feel free to scan them. They all will lead to better, bigger content. So role. So role is actually the foundation. This is where we tell the AI, what is your persona? What is your job to do? And that's where we define the topics. And topics are nothing but collection of instructions that the agent can use to do its job. A bunch of these topics come together and make the agent. So it's very important. This is at a very, very granular level. So it's very important for you to think, be more conscious about how you define these topics. Think about the real world agent, what they do in their work, and what is their scope. So think about your Agentforce agent, service agents, to think about what is their scope, what is their objective, and more importantly, who the target audience is. Is this agent going to be working with a visitor for your website? Or is this agent going to be working with an authenticated user? Is this agent going to be deployed to a field service person who is going to be primarily mobile? Having all these things figured out will help you build security into the flow of Agentforce rather than coming at the end and bolting it on. The next up is data. As you all know, data is the knowledge that the agents need to do their tasks. Consider data as the brains. You can have the agent work off your CRM data. You can have the agent work off your data cloud data that you bring, that you ingest from plethora of sources. For that matter, you can have your agent go out to the internet, grab latest news. You can do whatever you want. And what you need to pay attention here is any data that you bring in, any data that the agent has access to, you're actually using that as an avenue to expose it to your end users. So make sure that you're aware of what data you're exposing to your agents. And while you do this, please pay attention to your organization's data classification policies. So make sure that whatever you build in is in line with that. And finally, as everybody here already knows, data minimization. Just bring in what the agents need. Don't just bring in additional data because it's nice to have, all right? The next aspect that we're going to be focusing on is actions. This is primarily where the rest of our conversation is going to be there. The reason being, we have noticed a lot of developers tend to overlook this area. And if you look at it, the what is similar. If you're a developer anywhere, the what's the same. It's the how that changes. Things such as least privilege, access control, secure design, testing, audit logs, all of us here are familiar with those things. No one needs a 101 on that. But how do they apply and how do they transfer into Agentforce is where we need to pay attention to. Next one we're going to be talking about the attributes is the guardrails. We have supervisory LLMs. Guardrails are basically telling the agents what they can and they cannot do. We have supervisory LLMs that provide a lot of these new runtime guardrails. You all know about Einstein Trust Layer. No need to talk about it. It's happily working in the background, making sure you have prompt injection defenses, you have data masking, you have toxicity detection. All those things are coming out without much of effort from your end. And finally, we have agent instructions. These are natural language instructions that you tell the agent, thou shall not do this, thou shalt do this. All right? And to wrap it all up, channel. Channel is where the work actually happens. Just like how you define any application today, right? This is going to be the interface, this is going to be the front end, so all your standard web application security works here. All your application security, mobile security, everything that you have learned so far still applies and still has an impact on the security of your Agentforce implementations. So with that said, let's quickly pivot into our actions. This would work. Great. Oh, sorry. Great. Agentforce actions. So as we just spoke about actions, actions are predefined tasks that these agents can do, and it can be based on a trigger or instructions, right? And what exactly are actions? Actions could be a flow, actions could be a prompt template, it could be an Apex. Salesforce provides you with a list of standard actions that comes out of the box. Things such as identifying a CRM record, identifying a user by email. Those things are standard. However, that's not enough when you start getting into your complex, unique business cases. That's why we have an ability to create your own agents. When creating your own agents, a couple of questions to ask about is this agent going to be an assistive agent, or is it going to be an autonomous agent? That helps you decide what level of security, what kinds of controls you need to put into your flow itself. And other big aspect is, what kind of an agent is it? Is it a public agent or a private agent? To differentiate it, a public agent usually is something that is running without any user context and hardly ever requires an authenticated user behind it. Whereas a private agent is something that I need to know who the user is, and in most cases I need to have them validated. An example could be, I love going to the gym. Yes, no mockery there. I love going to the gym. If I'm just walking by and I need to know, hey, what time does this gym open? I don't have to be authenticated. That's just standard visitor. You need to provide that information. On the other hand, hey, what time is my session today? The agent needs to know the context between my. What does my mean? Why my means Shri. And in certain use cases, it might also need to authenticate me to say, this is a sensitive transaction. I actually need you to authenticate yourselves. So that's where we're going to spend a little bit more time as we get into this session. So we're going to be talking about the 5 steps here. Pretty simple, we'll go into each one of them. First up is least privileges. So every agent that you have has a designated running user. And when you create an agent, you have an ability to create an agent user. And this agent user does not have any permissions by default. That's a good thing. And this agent user follows the same Salesforce access controls, things that you're all familiar with, policies, licenses, profiles, licenses, object and record level securities. And one thing that you also want to pay attention, like you would do in your real world non-agent scenarios, is the organization-wide defaults and role hierarchies. Those can change the scope of your access control for the agent users. And when it comes to the actual actions, the actions basically inherit the permissions that the flows and the templates and the apexes have. So the best practice here is to start with a minimum access profile and only give access that the agent requires. Sounds pretty easy, right? But oftentimes when we do that, we end up with unintended consequences. Here's a quick example. I tried to run this fast, but I'll see how fast it goes. So basically I have an agent. I'm going to go to this agent and ask them like, hey, give me a list of all my cases. The agent does his own thing, figures it out that, hey, I don't know who you are, so it's asking me, can you give me an email address? I gave it my email address. Agent goes, does his thing, and if you look at the middle, you will see that it's using the action of identify customer by email. So it identified me. That's a little fishy for me. So you're going to identify me by my email? How about I tell you, my email address is not that, sorry, I made a boo-boo. I gave another email address to the agent. The agent gladly accepts it and returns me back with the new information. You can see how this could be an issue if that was a sensitive information that's being shared out, right? So with that said, how do we kind of solve this, right? We need to make sure that since the agents are acting as without any user context, it is upon us, it's incumbent upon us developers to make sure that we implement mandatory user verification. We need a way to verify these users. And best ways to do that is have some form of strong authentication, have MFA, whatever is needed, but that might not be possible in odd cases. We have call center agents who are not allowed to take their phones in. What do we do? So think about those scenarios. One other thing that's also important is think about certain actions. There could be certain actions like, I need to change my email, I need to change my password. Consider them to be a bit higher authentication level requirements and maybe challenge them with step up. Hey, once more, I need you to give me an OTP before I can proceed. So think of these things as some of the key ways that you could start making your Agentforce more secure. Next up is coming into the actual actions itself. How do I design these actions in a secure manner? First up is scope limitation. You want to make sure that agents have access, the agents use the actions, and the actions have access only to the right amount of data. They have boundaries around them. They just can't be going around accessing all data that they want. And the other important aspect is we spoke about mandatory user verification. Let's make sure that user identification and the permission verifications are actually built into this action itself, so that anytime the action executes, it executes within the context of the user that we're talking about, right? Input validations. Most of you here know standard practice, you need to validate and sanitize inputs that are coming in. What's so different here? Sometimes you have inputs that are not provided by the users. You have an action that is going to go get some other piece of information from, that could be an untrusted source, and that data can now be input to another action. So it's not directly your input as the user interacting, but now you also have another form of input. So it's incumbent on us as developers and admins to make sure that when we create these actions, we sanitize those inputs as well. Finally, error handling. We want to make sure that when an agent fails, it fails safe. It doesn't give out information that is going to, that has sensitive information or data that it shouldn't. And on the other hand, it also doesn't cause system instabilities. So with that, we'll move to the next one, which is around monitoring and guardrails, right? One of the biggest things I really love about all of our GenAI experience is that the plethora of audit trail logs. There's so much valuable information in there. So please make it a point to go in and review those logs, build your own reports, build alerting, so that you can get a pulse of what's happening in your environment at any point in time. So it is on you to make sure that you review your audit trail logs, you review your access logs to make sure everything is happening right. Along the same vein, review your permissions for the agent users. Remember we spoke about it 3 steps ago? Make sure that you review those permissions and make sure that they are in line as your organization continues to go, as your magentic maturity increases. Make sure those are all in line. You do have an ability to enable these enrich event logs with conversation data. Use that with a caution. When you do that, all information, every interaction is actually logged. So it's great for debugging, it's great for testing, but when you get into production, you might want to turn that off. I want to also give a quick call out to our runtime guardrails. I did talk about it in the earlier slide. Basically, we have supervisory LLMs that are constantly scanning your interactions, and they're going to be giving us metrics around instruction adherence, groundedness, completeness, coherence, all that matters. And we can use these metrics to now trigger dynamic responses. Basically say, if these things don't match my needs, you transfer to a human agent. Or if you don't have enough information, you ask for more clarifications. Or straight up, block. So those are some things that are also available in the repertoire of tools that you have at your disposal. And finally, comprehensive testing. Agents are, at the end of the day, they're just software implementation. So make sure everything is tested. So Agentforce Testing Center, that just went GA a few days ago, AI-assisted testing. We have provided great, easy ways for you to create low, no-code agents. However, we need to also test it. I can't be spending tons of time testing it and then coming back and reiterating it. That's why we thought how cool it would be if we can provide low, no-code testing as well. So that's where Agentforce Testing Center comes into play. Basically, it allows you to generate test cases using AI. It allows you to test them, evaluate them using AI, and you can run all these things in parallel. And finally, you have a human in the loop that can go in and review these results and say, yeah, I like it, I don't like it, I need to do these changes, get a better pulse of it, and all this information is then again fed back so that you can have continuous improvement in your systems. So to put them all together, these are the 5, I would say, easy steps or things that you would want to consider when you go out, when you go back to your organizations. If they want to start doing it, if you're administrators, ask these questions to your developers. Make sure they've thought about these things. So I am going to now jump into a reference implementation. Again, this is a very quick, very high level overview to give you how we can do this. And this is a reference implementation for an Experience Cloud site. And what we're doing here is we're going to be leveraging, again, all of you know this, a flow. I'm not going to be talking about each of these boxes because I don't have time for that. We have 4 minutes left. So what we're going to be talking about is we're going to be leveraging the messaging session object. So that is a standard Salesforce object. What comes with this messaging session object is that like every chat session has a session key. And our goal here is that I need to associate this session key with an auth session. So once I'm able to do it, I can now augment the messaging session object with contact, with what else? Account information, whatever you want. If you have custom fields, you can always do that. And if an auth session exists, we're going to go augment that. If it doesn't, what we're doing is we're actually appending the session key into the payload of a landing page for an Experience Cloud site. And what that does is that is behind a login. So what that is, that triggers a screen flow that basically is now saying like you have to be logged in. If you're not logged in, go log in and come back. Once the user logs in and comes back, now I'm able to get the auth session. With the auth session, now I'm able to append the messaging session object with the account, with the contact, with whatever additional fields that I want. So all we have done is we have associated a messaging session and an auth session. When we did this, we're able to get all the information that we need that can now be used going forward by all of the agent actions so that they execute within the context of this either account or contact, whatever that our logic is. So, and I think it would be much more easier if I were to quickly show you how the user experience would look like. Hopefully this works. Yes, it does. So this is an Experience Cloud site. You've all seen this. I'm going in, I'm triggering my agent, I'm accepting my privacy policies, go in, I'm asking a question. When I ask this question, it's the first flow that's getting triggered. It knows that I'm not logged in, so it's going to go give me a link, and you can see the session key is embedded in there. When I click on it, it passes me over to my landing page, which is behind authentication, so it's asking me to authenticate. And this is the landing page, and I've added some key information there that'll allow you to easily understand what's going on. I got the account ID, contact ID, and the session key. Session key came in, contacts goes back. And with that, now the system is able to take that information and only give the cases that are associated with me. If I went in and tried to say, give me another user, it's going to be like, no, you don't have that information. So this is a very quick reference implementation. The previous QR code is very important because we send you to a GitHub repo where you can get, you can download this example. So, going to wrap it all up, right? So protecting data is a partnership. Just like with Salesforce, everything's shared responsibility, protecting data is a partnership. Salesforce, as Salesforce, we provide you with a secure infrastructure, we provide you with a strong foundation, we provide you with all the tooling necessary, we have out-of-the-box topics and actions for standard use case, we have these agent guardrails, we have a framework for authorization and authentication, and we have lots more, but I'm just listing a few here. But what's more important from you as our developers and our admins is you need to implement appropriate authentication and authorization across channels. Wherever you deploy, you need to have this in place. That's on you. The onus is on the developers and admins. The onus is on you, again, to ensure that the scope of the agent and the data that it interacts with, that is clearly defined. It is your responsibility to make sure that you use the audit logs, you understand the usage of your system, and you track and monitor them. Again, it is your responsibility to leverage all the tools and out-of-the-box guardrails that we have to ensure that implementation is secure. So that is, in a nutshell, how we as partners, can actually have secure and compliant Agentforce implementations. I know I didn't do a good job of telling you guys there were QR codes, so I put a lot of these QR codes up here, so one-stop shop. If you want to grab that, that's great. That's all I had. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate your time. If you have any questions, I'll be out on the side talking to whoever wants to listen. Thank you all.